and I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us right here on The Right View. Before we get started, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, AMAC. As we approach another critical election, a wave of concern washes over America. Recent studies revealed that an astonishing 56% of our fellow citizens report feelings of anxiety or dread about the upcoming presidential election. That's why I stand with AMAC. AMAC is more than a senior discount organization. During these challenging times, they fight for common sense and hope that our nation returns to traditional American values. Visit amac.us/Lara today to seize an exclusive election year special, a 4-year AMAC membership for just $30. As an AMAC member, you not only enjoy money-saving benefits, but also the AMAC magazine, free Social Security and Medicare advice, a trusted voice in Washington, and a community of like-minded patriots who love this great nation. By becoming an AMAC member, you're strengthening a movement dedicated to preserving the principles we hold dear. Take advantage of this election year special, 4 years for $30, and be part of the solution over the next 4 years. You can join us now at amac.us/Lara. That's amac.us/LARA. Tonight, we're so excited because we're joined by the host of Fearless with Jason Whitlock. He's also a columnist for Blaze News, Jason Whitlock. Jason, welcome. I'm so excited to have you on the show. I've been a long distance fan of yours for a long time. And some people may know this about you. I assume a lot of people do, but for those who don't, you've actually been a sports journalist since the early 90s. So that crossover seems a little unique to people. How did you end up getting into the political space? Because I think that's when I was first introduced to you and how I first really came to know you.
Yeah, the entire time I was a sports writer, I wrote about sports as a jumping off point to talk about larger cultural issues. And so I really haven't changed. I do the same thing. I use sports as a way to explain what's going on in the real world. And so that's what I've been doing since 1990, since I graduated from Ball State University. I thought there was a lane to dive into where you could examine the larger American culture through a sports lens.
Well, it makes sense. And you got in and now you're very, very much into politics. That said, Jason, I believe, if I am not mistaken, you really were not a Trump supporter. And then I recall you joining Tucker Carlson the night of the infamous Mar-a-Lago raid. And you very famously said, "I'm full-blown MAGA tonight." So was that the final straw for you? How did you come to that place where you finally said, like, enough, I'm on the team now and I get it with Donald Trump?
Well, to be quite honest with you, President Trump's inauguration speech is what won me over in 2016. My parents were factory workers, and my dad has passed now. My mom's still alive, but she worked at Western Electric for 30 some odd years. My dad started out working for Chrysler as a factory worker. He eventually opened a bar which catered to factory workers. And so President Trump's inauguration speech, where he talked about bringing manufacturing jobs back to America, it spoke directly to me. It's something that I could understand and relate to. My parents used factory work, manufacturing work, to lift me and my brother to a higher station in life. And so I told everybody, I was like, hey, because again, my family, all of them leftist Democrats. I was like, you got to watch this inauguration speech. He's talking about us. He's talking about the way of life we use to elevate ourselves and move up the economic ladder in America. But I've never been a hardcore political person. I've never voted ever once. And it wasn't until they raided Mar-a-Lago that I was like, you know what? This is so out of hand. I got to jump on board all the way with MAGA. I've always related to the MAGA crowd because I think it's working class America. I think that the white people that are known as MAGA have a lot in common with the people that I grew up with and how I grew up in the Black community. I think there's the media pushes a divide and tells
You
both
think,
groups.
Jason?
Yeah, and
Yeah.
tells both groups, oh, you got nothing in common. You guys hate each other, and it's just not true. And so that night, yeah, I was on Tucker, and I was like, look, we have no choice. I'm full blown MAGA. That's my crowd, and it really is. And you know, particularly, I moved here to Nashville in 2020, and part of the reason I left Los Angeles because I just needed to be around people that thought more like me. And you know, I didn't. You know, you live out in LA, and it's like, particularly back then, you had to. The first thing you had to tell people. So let me get this out of the way. I hate Donald Trump.
Oh,
And then
Jesus.
everybody could relax, and then you could be. And I don't hate Donald Trump. I've never hated Donald Trump, and so I wanted to live somewhere where I wasn't required to hate Donald Trump because it's just not important, or it's not an authentic belief. So yeah, I am full blown MAGA. Is my name showing up on? I even called myself Jason MAGA here.
Oh, I love it. That, by the way, that's the true testament right there,
Yeah,
Jason. Well, let me
yeah.
ask you this really quickly. Are you going to vote in this election in 2024?
I'm planning to.
Oh, I love it. Can you do me a favor as the
Yeah.
co-chair of the RNC, as a person who's trying to inspire people all across this country to do their civic duties? We all get our one vote. I'm going to ask you, Jason Whitlock, to please go vote in this election because we can't leave anything to chance. And before we get into people hating Donald Trump and this conviction and all the crazy stuff that we've seen happen, to go back to the reason that you sort of got bought into Donald Trump, the manufacturing, were you pleased with what you saw happen in terms of manufacturing coming back to America under Donald Trump's leadership while he was president for 4 years? People never talk about all of the great things that he actually did, but that was such a big one because I'll never forget traveling with him to places like Michigan, for example. Very specifically in Michigan, I remember going, and there was this old automotive plant where it was all fenced up. There was, you know, there were weeds growing up through the cracks in the pavement where it used to be a big parking lot, but it was all shuttered and shut down. And it was just such a sad testament to our country and the greatness that once existed that we let leave America. And he said, I'm going to bring that back. I very vividly remember that experience. What did you think of what he actually did with bringing manufacturing back while he was president?
I think we were headed the right direction for sure, and I was appreciative of that. The other thing, just for me, Lara, is just the explanation. Once you connect the dots in terms of why America first is important, this is all connected to a mindset that we've lost. That we just kind of think we can. Hey, we can let all the jobs go over here, and we can let foreign
Right.
countries influence our country and buy up Hollywood. And the next thing you know, we've lost the character and a lot of the freedoms that we had taken for granted here in America. And we just start seeing America become a different place. I want the return of a Christian culture, a America first culture. And it's not that I'm anti-immigrants, but I just don't want any and everybody let in here. There should be a process, and people need to know. When we have people in Congress like Ilhan Omar that doesn't even know what Memorial Day celebrates,
Oh, geez. Yeah.
uh, and you know, we have too many people in elected offices that have dual citizenship. I'm against that. That there are things about America that I take a lot of pleasure in. I try to stay away from the word pride. That's the
Oh yeah, don't go there, Jason, because they'll call that's a bad word. You can't. That's so sad though, because we should have pride in our country. You should have pride in what you do for work and the things that you present to the world and how you represent yourself. That you should have pride in. That's not a bad word. It has of course been pushed in that direction by the mainstream media, but I agree with you. I think you're spot on.
my word that we should be appreciative of the things that are uniquely American. and we should have gratitude towards the people who created the things that are uniquely American, and all of this prosperity and opportunity. We were the leaders in that prosperity, opportunity, regardless of what color you are. And we should be very appreciative of the founding fathers and our ancestors who sacrificed their lives to create all of this freedom. And we've just lost sight of that. And we now sit here and think, well, the grass is greener. If we were more like France, or if we were more like Italy, if we were more like this place or that place, it's crazy.
Yeah.
No, we need to be more like America. The
Amen.
America we inherited.
Yes.
And that, when I think about President Trump, when I think about MAGA, when I think about just everything that he and the movement represent, that's what it represents to me. Let's be more American. Let's don't be ashamed of that. Let's be appreciative of that. I just had an event here in Nashville called Roll Call. We had a great speaker, E.W. Jackson. He's a minister on the East Coast, Black guy, 72 years old. And man, he gave a great speech about how, hey, if you're here in America, no matter how you got here, you may have come on a slave ship, you may have left because of a famine in your country, or you were chased out of your country because of war. You're here by divine appointment. And so he was really trying to communicate to African Americans, or to Black Americans, as me and EW like to say, that no, all these other identities, African, this or that, and oh my God, I was brought here on a slave. No, God wanted you here for his purpose, and that purpose helped this country become what it was and what it can still be, the greatest country in the history of humanity, the envy of the world, and we should be taking credit for and being appreciative that we were a part of this history and that God used us to create this great country. And instead, the left has taught us to be ashamed of our American ancestry, claim an ancestry that we have no idea what it is. We have no real connection to it. It's just a word or term used because we're not African. And I don't say that because I'm looked down on Africa. I say it because I know who my grandparents were. I know who my great-grandparents were. I know the values that were instilled in me, and they're uniquely American, and I'm never going to be ashamed of that.
All right, quickly, I want to tell you about one of our sponsors, Swiss America. Our country's facing so many problems these days under Joe Biden. The last thing any of us need is more to worry about. Unfortunately, we now have to fear losing our freedom and privacy with the Democrats' new push for a digital dollar that could allow the government to tell us what we can and cannot buy with our own hard-earned money. That's why I'm encouraging every one of you tuning into the show right now to get The Secret War on Cash, an insightful report created by my friends at Swiss America. With this report, you'll learn how to protect yourself from the threats facing our freedom and your hard-earned money. The report is available right now to my listeners free of charge. Just call 1-800-289-2646 or visit www.swissamerica.com/Trump for your free report. All right, if you suffer from chronic pain, listen up. Here's a way to help you get real relief. As a fitness fanatic, I understand that recovery is just as important as the workout itself. But whether you're recovering from an injury or just looking for everyday relief from pain in your joints and muscles, nerve pain, fibrosis, and inflammation, I recommend Golden Revive Plus from Up Wellness. This advanced all-natural formula combines 6 powerful anti-inflammatory ingredients, including a proprietary turmeric extract that's 200 times stronger than raw turmeric. All of this to address the root cause of your pain, reducing scarring, swelling, and tissue damage using the healing powers of nature to help your body heal itself. Formulated by husband and wife team Drs. Josh and Amanda Levitt, Golden Revive Plus gives you real pain relief and better range of motion, plus better heart, eye, and brain health. Join the over 300,000 Americans who are already using Golden Revive Plus to get and stay pain-free. For a limited time, you can try Golden Revive Plus for 30% off at goldenrevive.com. Just use promo code Trump at checkout. I love that, and I love that message about the fact that if you are here in America, you are here because God wanted you to be here, and it was divine. And what a great message. You're right, though. Of course, it seems like every institution we have out there tries to teach certainly our upcoming generations of Americans that they should be ashamed of this country. They shouldn't love this country. This country's been against them from the beginning. And Jason, you do enough of that to people and they start hating this country. Guess what? Guess what you're not going to fight for if you need to? You're not going to fight for this country. And the previous generations, all the way up to, I'm going to say my generation of Americans, was taught very differently. I remember going, in fifth grade and having the opportunity that really I was so excited about it. It was such a great responsibility to put up and take down the American flag in the mornings at my elementary school. It seems like none of that stuff exists anymore, and they want us all to glom onto this idea that we should be against America. We have to fundamentally change it. You always hear them say that out there, especially on the left. I know Joe Biden promised that. And man, has he fundamentally changed this country. He certainly has changed a lot that's gone on with our Department of Justice. I think a lot of people can argue. And in that vein, it's been essentially a week since Donald Trump's conviction. I'd love to know what you've been hearing out there. I know how people responded to the campaign. We got record-breaking numbers of small dollar donations. Thank you to everyone who donated out there. It is so appreciated. But how do you think, Jason, people are responding to this? What have you heard?
What I've heard here in Tennessee is people are outraged, and people expected this, but they're still shocked. They knew
Right.
that they had weaponized our criminal justice system. They knew that if you try Donald Trump in a Democratic state or a Democratic city, that you don't need any real evidence. You just need angry jurors or bullied jurors. Because I guarantee you, there were people in that jury room that knew, like, this is crazy. There's no crime here. What are we doing here? But they also knew that if I vote not guilty, that's eventually going to come out in the media, and me and my family are going to experience living hell for the
Right.
rest of our time in New York. We're going to have to uproot, move to another city, and we may not even be safe in another city the way the media is. They will out us, they will demonize us. Oh, there was this one or two jurors that wouldn't convict, and they're the worst people on the planet. And so I think here in Tennessee, and I think anyone objectively knows that none of this has anything to do with justice. This is about us being really reduced to a third world country where you can't have faith in the election process, and that we're moving into this dictatorship or regime type corrupt system and they love to talk about President Trump and he wouldn't concede the election. Well, they won't even pretend to run a fair election.
Right.
Let's deal with that. He won't concede because it's so obvious you won't run a fair election, and I guess they just want us to roll over and bend over and accept their rigged political system, but we're not going to. It's so important that President Trump get reelected and becomes our 47th president so that we can start restoring some measure of justice to the people that are rotting in jail over January 6th for no reason. And for the people that have this fear that even in their workplace, or they can't live out their values.
Right.
They've conservative Christians have been placed in a closet. This whole thing is just turned around backwards, where if you have these traditional American beliefs and you want to hold on to what was uniquely American, you've been demonized in this country, and you have to hide that, and you have to pretend that you're on board with all of this lunacy that Joe Biden and these guys are ushering in. And so, President Trump is our best hope for this election cycle to try to right some of these wrongs and bring some justice to people that have been just as, even more brutalized by this weaponized court system we have than even President Trump.
Yeah. By the way, I think what you say about the jurors being bullied is so accurate. What's funny is late last night, one of my dogs went like on the run. I let the dogs out, and I'm actually here in New York for the summer with my husband and my kids. My kids are out of school now. And my neighbor was out walking her dog when I finally caught my dog, and she works at, I won't say which one, but a major New York City hospital. And she said, she stopped me and she was like, I just want to tell you, how sorry I am for what your father-in-law has gone through. But she said, I knew that those jurors were never going to come to any other conclusion than guilty, because I know as a conservative at my hospital, in my workplace, if I ever for a moment let my conservative values show and slipped and I said something to somebody like I'm a conservative, she said, I would be so maligned. People would be so against me. And you feel bullied into being literally silenced, Jason, like you're saying. And she said, I knew they were all going to come back with a guilty verdict because they had no other choice. They would have been attacked in some way, maybe not in the traditional sense of a physical attack, but you're right, their lives would have been upended, because certainly people would have figured out who the people were who went against the jury verdict of guilty, had they had any sort of a hung jury. So it's really sad, and I agree. We have to right these wrongs, and we have to start by making sure Donald Trump becomes the next president. You are a sports guy, so I want to ask you just quickly, do you feel like with sports in America becoming such a huge part of our culture, it really is, it's part of who we are as Americans, was it inevitable that things became more political with sports, especially when people on social media they're always ready to dissect any comment from any pro athlete, and just they're ready to attack people? Was this always going to happen, or has it just kind of gotten crazy recently because of just the environment we're in?
Laura, I think what many people miss is that sports have always been political. And what we as conservatives, and I'll say mostly Christians, have missed is that they were always going to attack the sports world because the sports world had been so Christian conservative at its foundation. People don't understand
Interesting.
that the YMCA, the Youth Men's Christians Association, they organized sports in the 1800s. The foundation of sports competition is Christian and conservative. It was a tool to enhance your conservative Christian values. If you look at the CYO, Catholic Youth Organization, and the role that they played in the 1920s and 30s in terms of integration in sports, they were the leaders. There would be no Jackie Robinson without the CYO. And so sports had been conservatives' best tool in the culture promoting conservative values. And so it was always going to come under attack. We didn't guard it, we didn't protect it, we just took it for granted. And now we're looking at them take it over with the sponsorships and everything else. It's being used as a tool. Football, that there was nothing more pro-America, pro-traditional values, in support of the military and all that, than football. That's all been taken away, and they can't, because of sports' unique ability. Live sports is the only thing that really works on linear TV, regular television, in terms of drawing a massive audience. And so the left knew that it had to have control of that if it wanted to complete its job of completely overtaking American culture. They were not going to leave the most powerful force in popular culture, the NFL and pro sports and college sports. They were never going to leave that alone. They knew they had to bring that under their control, and and so it's always been political. We've just now seen it turned upside down, turned on its head, and now it's marching a completely different direction. It's marching the Marxist, communist,
Yeah.
socialist direction.
Do we get it back? What do we do?
I'm I'm not sure if we ever get it back.
Wow.
I'm not sure, because I'm a former college football player. I made a big part of my name as a sports writer covering football, and I'm at a loss to think about how do we get it back. Jerry Jones, the owner of the Cowboys, Daniel Snyder used to own the Washington Commanders, used to be Redskins. These guys were trying to uproot Roger Goodell, the commissioner, and get football more in line. They just lost that battle. Dan Snyder's been run out of the NFL. Jerry Jones is older and just holding on to his team and trying to win a Super Bowl. I'm not sure if we can ever get it back. Look at what's going on with, and I know we're running short on time, but look what's going on with Caitlin Clark
Right.
in the WNBA.
Yeah.
She has walked. This is a girl that grew up in a Catholic church, has a boyfriend, great player, wholesome. She's walked into the feminist LGBTQ stronghold of the WNBA, and they are out to destroy her, plain and simple. End of story.
Yeah, no, it is. It's crazy stuff. But thank you for that. Is such a good point. I never thought of it that way, but I think you're exactly right. We have about a minute left. As a sports guy, I know you people like to bet on games and different sporting events. What if you had to place a bet right now today? Who would you bet on for November 5th, 2024, winning this election, Jason?
I wish you hadn't asked me that question, and I knew it was coming. But hey, man, these guys play dirty.
They do.
I mean, they play really dirty, and I expect them to play even dirtier. They're already playing dirtier. They're trying to put father-in-law in prison. There was no way I thought he would lose the 2020 election if, things were run in a way with some integrity. And so I'm very cynical right now. I just expect President Trump to get 75% of the vote and get 100% of the corruption. So
I like that. I like that. Jason, I'm just going to put it out there. If you go vote, I'm going to say we're going to win. So I don't want to put any pressure on you, but I'm just going to throw it out. We need your vote, your first vote this election. Nothing could be more important. But thank you for all you do. If people want to follow you, find you, where can they find you?
On Twitter, it's at Whitlock Jason. Find me on YouTube at youtube.com/Jason Whitlock.
Well, you're awesome. Thanks for spending some time with us. I'm going to take that prediction and run with it. 75% of the vote, 100% of the corruption. Love it. Jason Whitlock. Thank you for joining us here today at The Right View. To everybody at home, as always, make sure you like, subscribe, share, and follow. We'll see you back here next time for more of The Right View.
And I won't back down. Hey, baby, there ain't no easy way out.
Nothing is worse than being on a phone call that drops. Nothing is worse than trying to text someone and you can't reach them because your phone is out of service range. And nothing is worse than supporting these major corporations and companies who don't support us. That is why I love Patriot Mobile. They are America's only Christian conservative wireless network. They use every cell tower out there available to all networks so that they have the greatest 4G and 5G coverage nationwide, and they support the causes that are important to us as conservatives. If you go today to patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump and use the promo code Trump, you will get free activation today. Again, that is patriotmobile.com/Lara Trump. The promo code is Trump for free activation so that you can get a great cell plan and feel good about doing it.